This one's making the cut. This one's making the cut.
I hope not.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man,
It's making the cut.
I am not ready for this.
we're gonna have to get like an insurance policy just on his microphone because he's gonna break it one of these days.
I have.
If he breaks it, I'll give you the $50.
I have.
Hey, so welcome, Mountaineer Kingdom Do Talk, real men, manly talks. We are here today.
There's an S on it now.
Yeah, I didn't know there was
Apparently.
an S.
Multiple
there's-
talks.
There's not. There's no S.
Yeah, so we're going to interview Josh today.
Yes, be interesting.
You're going to have to apologize. I'm going to look at the camera.
There you go. I'm on you right now, buddy.
Thanks. Yeah, not so good at the intro stuff. That's Josh. He's real good. But we're going to talk about him, find out real good questions and answers.
Real good.
It's good. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, so anyway, Josh. Hey, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, buddy.
Good for you, man.
Yeah, it was quick, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was great.
See what it's like when people don't
Well,
reply?
thanks for coming in.
If you'd like
it's a
to
great
learn
day.
more about us,
Very,
go to-
very blessed, as always.
That's good. It's beautiful, man. Yesterday was awesome. It's got the fake spring.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
it's time.
Fake spring.
Yes.
it is. Have you not seen the
Yes.
breakdown of the fall spring and then the
Yeah.
end of winter and then
They're calling for like 3 to 6 inches of snow on Tuesday.
get some.
No, I'm done with it.
No, I love it. Feet. I want feet of snow.
Yeah, we had feet of snow in January.
I see he lives in P County, man. Up there on the hills. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Anyway, man.
we had up to like just about 2 feet of snow when that last storm rolled through, and I'm done.
That.
I'm done for the year. Like I'm ready to go hiking, ready for spring.
Go in the snow.
Yeah, I probably will be at some point. I gotta
See,
get out
the
of the
snow,
mountains.
every time I hear about that much snow, it reminds me of being a kid and all the fun things that me and my 3 brothers did.
Snow.
You would think, but like my kids won't go out in it unless it's like 5 below 0.
Take them
And
out.
then they're all ticked off because it's like, no, you're not going out because it's 5 below 0 and you don't have gear. You lose fingers and toes.
And we live in B County. Like, come on, children.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, you gave us a good segue there, man. You talked about your
You
your
liked that,
brothers.
didn't
You did that intentionally.
Saved
Get
it.
us back on track. So, where were you born, Josh?
I was born in West Virginia.
That can't be real.
It's a real place.
No.
And there's many of them. I remember when I ordered
There's many mans.
something and I had to call customer service because it wasn't coming through. And they're like, where are you from? I'm like, oh, this is easy. West Virginia. They're like, just 3 letters? I'm like, yep. And when they looked it up, it was, I think there were 7 or 8 that little towns called Man across the country.
In West Virginia.
Not just West Virginia.
Oh. My favorite's Hurricane.
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 Yeah, it's Hurricane.
Not hurricane.
There's War. There's Van.
Nitro.
Lake. Yeah, there's all kinds of.
Yeah, I wonder how all this came up.
At least the names of our towns aren't nearly as sexually explicit as what Pennsylvania has.
Oh, yeah. Intercourse.
Yeah, there's some weird ones. But it's PA.
So you started talking about it a little bit there. You're in West Virginia, which is where?
So it's about 45 minutes as the crow flies south of Charleston.
Oh, so way to crap down there.
Way down there. It's almost,
Wait.
so it's in Logan County and it's almost on the Kentucky-West Virginia border.
Oh man, that's like Hatfield McCoy. Bing, ding,
Yeah.
ding, ding,
Yep.
ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, it's down there. There's a lot of Hatfield McCoy history. There's the Hatfield McCoy trails that started out as old coal mine roads, and the locals turned those into a huge 4-wheeler path. I mean, it's massive.
That's taking over. Outdoor recreation with respect to wheeled vehicles is taking off.
It's a big deal down there.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It probably saved a lot of jobs,
Yeah.
just with all the tourism that comes through.
Well, those trails like go all the way from Kentucky to almost to Virginia, like on the eastern side of West Virginia. And there's like these little convenience stores you can stop at. That the only way you access them is on the trail.
Yeah, there's a guy. I'm going to butcher the location, but excuse me.
Woman.
He has it's a guy. He has a
woman,
shop
West Virginia.
out in the middle of one of these trails, and you would think out here, miles and miles away from civilization, how's this going to thrive? But there's so many people that ride those trails with ATVs and such that he's booming. He has parts. He has whatever you need, gear to get you going again. He's rocking.
So what was it like growing up in the middle of nowhere?
At the time, you don't realize it's the middle of nowhere. I've always kind of had safety within the mountains of West Virginia. It's like your walls, right? And down there, it's safety. And until you venture out, you really don't know anything different.
So, live with mom, dad, brothers, sisters?
Mom, dad, 3 brothers, 2 cousins, Avery and Nikki, who are pretty much siblings. I don't know why my voice is so low all of a sudden. But
you've got new headphones.
New headphones.
Yeah, they.
That's what we all hear every day.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, very close brothers. We had a lot of fun growing up.
Did you spend your entire childhood down there in one space, one home?
Yeah, not one home. So I grew up in a coal camp. I'm trying to think of an easier way to explain that. So my papa,
it's like a company town.
Yeah, all the houses look the same.
It was a coal camp. So the one I grew up didn't. My papa built 3 homes beside of his brick house, maybe just the 2. There was a brown house and a white house. They were definitely coal houses. And he had a nicer brick house besides. So I grew up across from my grandparents and cousins and aunts and uncles.
So you guys were all just clumped together in one spot?
Yeah, you had to, because it was not a very well-off location. We were not well off at all, so you kind of had to live close just to make it work.
So talk to us about that. You grew up with a lot of extended family hanging out next door. You were right next to Papa and Mama.
Papa and Mama, yeah.
Papa and Mama. Is this Mama that we heard about earlier?
No, so my Mamas are complete opposites. They're polar. Mama Blankenship's the pro wrestling fan who...
She's the one that coined bull butter.
Bull butter. She was very feisty, opinionated, and her opinion was right, and yours wasn't. And she was strong. And my grandma, my Mama Brickles, who's on my mom's side, was the quietest, sweetest lady you would ever meet in your life.
So at least we now understand where your opinionated nature comes from.
So, but that wasn't until the world got a hold of me.
Oh, okay.
And then I'm like, okay, here we go. I can, if I'm going to resort to something, I'll be like Mama.
So childhood, good, bad, and different.
I loved it. I wouldn't change it for the world. It shaped me to who I am, and it's not that if I had to do over, I'd take it. I was really close to my brothers, and it was outside all day long, and we had the mountains. We lived right beside a river. The river is probably my favorite. We had diving boards. We made a zip line that went from one side to the other. We had 2 rope swings. And one year, the water company came in, State Road came in and was taking out all the old concrete culverts. And they put the aluminum stuff in, and they rolled us down 4 of the concrete culverts. So we all got together. Bob, who is like a grandpa to me, I'll tell you a little bit more about him, but he helped us dig out the riverbed, and we anchored these concrete tubes practically into the river and cut down 4 trees, made 4 posts, and then put 2 flat platforms up so we could have jumping stations.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, it was awesome.
That's a beauty of small town West Virginia, man. Like the State Road coming in and helping. Hey, there's some kids over here jumping in the water. Let's hook them up.
We, for 3 summers straight, went up river because Bob liked to fish, and he wanted to get out in that part of the river. So we would just stack these huge rocks and just make piles so you could walk out from pile to pile so you don't have to get wet, and all day long.
That's awesome.
It was awesome. I mean, we were poor as dirt, but you found a way to have some fun.
So grew up with a million family members, everybody all next door to each other, obviously integrated in a small community, and then you found your way to Fairmont, West Virginia, right?
Yeah.
So talk to me about that. How'd you end up coming this way, and what'd you do when you were
So this is my cheesy story that I share all the time. I had no intentions of moving out. Like I said, when you're in that tight-knit of a location and family, it's easy to get stuck. And everybody was either a coal miner or, I mean, there was some new stuff up and coming, but the internet hadn't hit yet, so you're kind of stuck doing what generational families do. And I think it was the 11th grade. I was listening to Dark Side of the Moon, and there was a lyric on there that said, all you touch, all you see is all your life will ever be. And it clicked with me that if I don't do something different, then I'm going to be a coal miner. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but I wanted to do something different, and I didn't want to stay in the town I grew up in anymore. Because we're some of the younger side of the family, and as close as our family was, my family started dying. And we were losing everybody, and people got older and they moved away, and life changes. So change with it, roll with the punches.
Sweet. So
I rambled. So I moved away. So
here?
There was a guy that came in. I forget his name, but he was a college recruiter in Fairmont at a computer school, and I had no intentions of doing that. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going to that school in that town." I had no idea where it was. So I went home, told Mom what was going on, and I was gone. I think I graduated. I was 17. Graduated in May, and by the end of June, I was up here.
So little baby Josh Blankenship leaving the town of Man, West Virginia, coming up to the city of Fairmont. That's a huge, busting,
right outside the windows.
metropolis.
I'll never forget at the MVB Bank over here. I walked up to it, and they were giving us a little tour before we moved up, and I got vertigo looking up at how tall the building was. I don't think it's 5 stories. But it was overwhelming. I'm like, holy cow, I am in it now.
So while I was being facetious there, the reality is this was a big transition for you.
Huge.
Yeah.
To have Walmart right down the road, restaurants, stoplights, that type of thing.
Yeah, my closest, I don't think we had a Walmart in my area until I was late junior high, early high school. And it was 35, 40 minutes away.
So what was the transition to civilization like for you then?
I don't know. I was never intimidated by it. I was always kind of excited about, look at all these things and what all these people are doing, and life's happening. Like, figure your part out. I loved it. I like people. Even in high school, I probably was closer to the teachers than the kids because I don't know, teachers are interesting. Adults are interesting, and they get a story, you find out about it.
So I do have a little bit of a question for you.
Oh, here we go.
With your reaction to Fairmont, I know you've been to Pittsburgh and other major cities. So what was the first thing you thought when you went into Pittsburgh?
Oh, I hate the traffic. The tunnel's stupid. The people were rude.
Well, I mean, when you saw like the buildings, because they're a bit taller than the 5-story building we have here in Fairmont.
That one, for whatever reason, I was more
Here. Yeah.
Yeah, I was already kind of used to it.
Okay.
And I've driven through Charleston, just never really remember being super close to some of the stuff. But I was so frustrated with how you get into Pittsburgh that I could care less about looking into anything
You got to
else.
say, though, coming through that tunnel
Is the worst.
I just think that's the coolest thing in the world.
You asked me, and that's my answer.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
the worst.
Okay, Josh is wrong on this one. It's
Now,
the greatest
once
transition
you
from
get in-
rural to city.
Once you get in,
it's like, bam, there's a
Pittsburgh,
city.
it is interesting.
Yeah.
I don't like the Steelers. I don't like. So city-wise, Pittsburgh's probably my least favorite because all of their sports teams I root against passionately.
Okay, so what was the first major
Passionately.
city you went to after Fairmont?
Cincinnati
Okay, so what was your thoughts when you went
or
to
Philadelphia.
I could do Philly.
Philly was
So what were your thoughts when you drove into Philly?
similar, just because the roads were narrow, and so I was working for Comcast I was a trainer.
Yeah.
And I went up there the internet was becoming popular, so we went up there so I could train to come back and bring it back to our people. And we went in, we were supposed to rent a car, and the car turned into this dually Dodge that was massive.
Oh
You're
my
driving that
goodness.
through Philly?
And I'm driving that through Philly, and the truck is wider than the roads.
Yeah.
And I took not knowing where I'm going, and GPS wasn't what it was. It was MapQuest, and you still had to write down or print off where you were going.
Yeah.
And I go through downtown Philly, somehow take a wrong road, and I'm at this barber shop. To when I park, the friendliest guys came out, but they're like, "Hey, you need to leave now, because when other people see you here, you guys are in trouble." And I went, "Okay, but how do I?" They're like, "Nope. All you need to do is get back in your truck, turn around, and go." They're like trying to help me out, and I'm like, "All right, gotcha." I picked up the warning, and you're like, but Philly was interesting.
I drove my Suburban through Philly, and I was claustrophobic with that. I can only imagine in a dually.
Oh yeah, so we were on Liberty. Is it Liberty Avenue?
Yeah.
That we were trying to get to, and I'm like, this is.
So I've been in the Comcast building there.
Yeah.
And I think
nice.
I was on like the 75th floor or something like that, and it was just insanely beautiful when you look out the window.
Yeah.
Over the city.
Oh, it's gorgeous. Yeah. One of my favorite jobs too, training and getting to see all these. So every 6 to 8 weeks, people would come in, and it's a new batch of people, and you get to present the information, and you get to kind of help them in their new career, and it's telling your story. So you get used to telling your story, and you get to perfect it. Not that you're faking it, but you know what I mean? You get the cadence down and all that. But then you get to hear about the other people. And 25 people in a class, that's 25 new stories that you get to hear about. You get to know about people. And then people are awesome, man.
Great segue, man. So you moved to the big city in Fairmont. What'd you end up doing?
Permanently, sales. I think I've always, well, I'm thinking back to some of the jobs, and even those, what I was hired to do, I ended up leaving that and being in that sales side of it.
So you're a salesman then?
Yeah. Sales is something. It's fun.
You enjoy it?
I enjoy the challenge of it because every 30 days it starts over. You have a goal, and you have to meet a quota, and then when the month's up, your quota's up, and you start over at 0. So it's like, okay, how do I get back to where I was? And yeah.
So do you like what you do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sales is interesting. It's more of you're the middleman. You need somebody to take a product, and you need to give them as much honest information about it as you can and bridge that gap so that they have access to it, and you're the door. Like, you're the middleman that gets it to them.
Gotcha. That's cool, man.
And all the personalities, like retail, I look back and it, like, if you're not careful, retail will change you as a person.
Yes, it will.
Working with the public constantly and having to, well, you know this, in what you're doing. The public's interesting, and they have an opinion on everything, and none of the opinions are the same. And you have to find a way to be relatable and build trust in 30 seconds. And
you can attest to this. Pre-COVID, out of 10 people, you might have had 2 or 3 pains. Post-COVID, now you have 1 or 2 nice people, and the other people are pains.
Yeah.
It's like people I don't know if they got entitled or they just got sick of life. I feel like I deal with way more tougher people to deal with than I ever had post-COVID.
I think that's true, but the people that stick out to most to me that you can think back at some of the crazy stories in customer service, retail, call center settings, whatever. Pre-COVID, the anger was more intense. There was just less angry people, if that makes sense. But those stories.
When you had the crazy one, it was full blown.
Oh, it was full blown.
Yeah.
Entitled people, that one always got me. So I got a very strong set of values and standards of how we treat people growing up in a small town. And I don't think I'm a confrontational person, but I don't. I like to laugh and make jokes.
I wish we could do instant replay.
Yeah, right.
I don't think I'm a confrontational person.
I don't. That's not my intent. My intent is to be
edit
like,
it.
how can we have a conversation and make a joke or have some fun? And I like to fire people out.
I think
motivate.
You're really good at cutting through the nonsense to get to the heart of the matter.
Yeah, you kind of have to be.
And maybe that's sales coming into it.
That's putting it politely.
It is, but it gets an effect. So, are you married?
I'm married, 2 wonderful kids, wonderful bride. She's very blessed to have me. She's my best friend. I got to the point where I never thought I was going to be the guy that had kids and got married and settled down. I think it was 29 when
You were 29 when you got married?
Yeah. And maybe 28 married, Gabe, 29 and 30. And as soon as I met her, I'm like, okay, if I get married, this will be the one.
Aw.
Yeah.
Look at that. And you guys been married how long now?
Going on 11 years.
11 years, 2 kids, all that stuff.
2 wonderful kids.
Good for you, man. That sounds really nice.
It's fun.
Yeah. So, you're doing sales.
Mm-hmm.
You're married with kids.
Yep.
What's life like in general, man?
Happy. Like, not at, I mean, at home, it's, we have a routine. We do it. We like it. Go to work, go home. It's not like, some people call that boring, but I like hanging out with my family.
What's your happiest time then?
Ever?
Yeah. What's a memory that you have where you're like, man, this was good.
So I was thinking about that the other day. It's like, of all the memories that grew up in man, and not that my dad wasn't around, he just worked a lot. And I remember the first time, so I told you about Bob and how he helped us do the river stuff and pretty much taught us, with another gentleman, LT, he taught us how to hunt, fish, and kind of be boys.
Bob and LT.
Yep. And so LT, that's funny. So his name is just L.T. My dad's name, no relation whatsoever, is LC, L.C. And it stands for nothing. It's just 2 letters. Isn't that crazy? Makes no sense. So I remember this family from Ohio came in, and they stayed in the summers across the dirt road. And this kid was over there with his BB gun. We're behind my aunt's house. And there was a girl that lived across the main road. And me being me, I'm like, oh, you like this girl. And just like giving him, just kind of picking on him a little bit. And everybody's laughing and he's laughing. And then the girl shows up and the joke starts again. And he shoots me in the leg with the BB gun. And
that doesn't feel good.
I remember going home and I try to hide it because I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get in trouble for getting shot. Right? This will be my fault. And I wrapped some toilet paper on my leg, but the toilet paper was sticking out of the bottom of my shoe. So we disperse, and I go up to Bob's house, and he saw what I was hiding because it was starting to hurt. And he goes, what happened? What's that under your leg? And I said, nothing, but there was blood on it. And he looked at my leg, and he goes, what happened? So I told him what happened. He goes, put your shoes back on. And he stood up for me. He took me, marched me around his house, went to the neighbor's house, confronted her, and told her pretty much, we don't do that here, and if he can't behave, you don't need to be here. And he wouldn't let me stand behind him. I was right beside of him, and he let her know that this kid's important to me. And that the first time that happens and a man's man stands up, yeah, that means something. And that was inspiring me to want to do the same for others one day.
Man, that's pretty awesome.
He was awesome.
That's a pretty foundational moment, man. That's pretty cool. How old were you then?
11.
Wow.
12.
Yeah. It's a good age for it, too.
Yeah, and especially since, so I thought I might get into this, wasn't sure. When I was 6 or 7, I was taken advantage of by an older family member. And I was asked questions about it, and I remember not being honest because you don't want people to know, right? There's a weird shame with the victim in that. And ever since, so 6 or 7, ever since then, it was like there's always this, what's my worth? And when he stood up for me and showed me that there was worth just because you are who you are and who God created you to be, and we stand up for that, it was like, okay, yeah, I can get over anything. This is going to be easy. You stand up for what's right and keep moving. And then life kind of works itself out after that.
So talk to me about your faith.
So I grew up in a religious home, not a spiritual home. So my mom used to sing in a gospel band. She even went down to the Gaithers Church in Tennessee and sang with the Gaithers on stage. I've never heard her sing. I was always told by everybody, oh man, your mom and her, she was in a trio with 2 other guys, and it was, she had an amazing voice. They were so anointed when they sang, and then she ended up falling away from the church. My dad was a preacher. He fell away. But that was all before I was really remember. I knew about God. I didn't know of God. And if it wasn't for some very strong spiritual women praying for us and my brothers, I don't know if I'd have faith, just because they kind of kept us in tune with always inviting us to church, taking us to church in most cases. And they taught me Jesus through their actions. They taught me what it meant to be about God through how they treated other people. One of my favorite stories I got saved when I was 15, went to a revival at my church I grew up in as a little kid. And my Aunt Sue had a daughter who was killed by a drunk driver when she was 12. And her name was Carolyn. Apparently I never met her. She was the sweetest kid. Everybody talked about it and how she always talked about Jesus to other people. And one day I had the courage to ask her, what would you do if you ever met the man that killed her? And she said, I'd pray for him because he has a soul. And that hit me so hard, is no matter what we go through, every human out there is a child of God. And they need grace and they need forgiveness, but they need a relationship with Jesus. No matter how they've hurt me, we pray for people.
Amen.
And that's the goal. It's like, if I can do something for Jesus, why don't I? For everything he did for me, he was willing to die for me. He was willing to leave eternity for me. I need to be willing to do whatever he wants me to do.
So that's your testimony, huh?
Yeah. It's you don't have to be dictated by your circumstances. The end of your story doesn't have to be dictated by the beginning. You can rewrite it at any point. Excuse me, but you need to rewrite it through his grace and his will and his blessing. So
what would you say is your testimony?
Overcoming. So I mentioned growing up poor. It's weird saying it because you don't realize kids are resilient. We're all like kids get through things. And I remember there were 4 of us. Dad for a while was the only one that worked. And we would have to share bath water. Like when the oldest kid would take a bath, he got the hottest water, and you could run a little bit of hot water into it, and then the middle or the second would take a bath, and then me and my baby brother always shared water. And I look back at that and always tell that story, and it's like, man, we were really poor.
Even as teenagers?
I think up until the 7th grade was when I could on my own.
Wow.
We did get to a point, I was talking to my brother about this, we started making a little bit more money, so you didn't have to let all the water out. Like you could keep some of the water and then just run more hot water on top of it. But yeah.
I'm trying to imagine, did your parents micromanage that? Because I can't imagine letting my kids.
Well, the houses were small. I mean, you could hear the water running.
Oh.
Right.
So you got somebody hollering in the other room.
Yeah, turn the water off.
Yeah.
But they did the best they could, and I don't fault them for any of their circumstances. But that I never focused on that side of it. I would always focus on, what are me and my brothers going to go do today? What can we get into outside of the circumstances? I mean, I remember in 7th grade, I had my first crush. This gorgeous girl was sitting behind me in class and was kind of interested, but I was so embarrassed about her calling the house. I'm like, yeah, I don't have a phone. You can't call.
Oh, wow.
Like I had no self-esteem.
That's crazy. I would not believe that
until I go outside. But then I learned, because the thing that happened to me as a kid when I was, it's a weird word to say, molested, whatever. It never really hit me unless I pondered on it, because that was every time I would, it's like, you know what, let's just talk to Jesus. Let's go read. Let's go do something else. It's like God was able to help me get through that by focusing on him. So I don't have a lot of the negative stuff to worry about, because I'm worried about where Jesus wants me to go next.
So first off, I appreciate your vulnerability with that, man.
Well, you have to. If he gets you through it, that's your testimony. That's something you share with other people to help them get through it.
So for anybody listening to this that may have faced something like that, because shoot, I feel like there are people out there that have faced that and never have come to terms with it necessarily.
Yeah.
What recommendation would you give to an adult or somebody that's faced that type?
Forgive that person immediately. Here's why I say that. Because me giving the forgiveness gives it to God to handle with that person. Because I'm not holding on to the bitterness. One, why would I let something that is evil that somebody's done to me affect me when I did nothing wrong to deserve that? I have no fault. So let's give it to God so he can go deal with that person the way he needs to deal with it, and I need to move on.
And what's that do for you, man? When you were able to forgive, what did that do for you in the long run? Or even in the near term?
You let go of a distraction. So you can focus on the future. Like, you don't have to lay in the dirt. And then there is a release. There's such a burden, and you can feel it being lifted, that it's like, one, the person has a soul too. What was that person's background and upbringing? Obviously something's not right in their head, right? There's some corruption that's going on, and I mean, there's truly evil people in the world. I'm not saying there's not, but I can't focus on the negatives of that. Life's still going on, and if I'm held up thinking and remembering and I don't know the word, harvesting this hate, I don't have any room for love, and there's no time for that. Life keeps moving, and if you get stuck in bitterness and unforgiveness, you don't grow, and you're going to lose a lot of your life for it. That's just, people deal with it the way they deal with it. It's all personal, and I'm not saying you have to deal with it that way. That's just how I've dealt with things.
That's good stuff, man. So you get one do-over.
So when I moved up here, I fell away. I stopped being in a close relationship with the Holy Spirit. I found the world, and sin was a lot of fun. And
you had access to it for the first time, too.
Oh, for the first time, and I jumped head in. Loved every minute of it. It was so much fun. I'm not saying it was good for me. But sin is fun for a season. And before you know it, you're changing, and it can harden your heart really quickly. And coming from a place of where people loved you, that you stop caring if people love you. You stop caring if you love people. You just want to go do whatever makes you feel good.
So what brought you back?
What brought me back was meeting Haley. She grew up in church. Her grandma is an amazing woman. She was 94, 95 when she passed away, and there were 5 generations still alive under her. And she grew up with less than I did. I mean, she was Great Depression time, and so she knew God. Granny prayed for every one of her babies, everyone. And through that woman's prayers, God was instilled in her family. And I met Haley, and I'm like, yeah, I remember God. He remembers me. And meeting her, and then we didn't go to church right away. And then you have kids, and you're like, oh, there is more to life than just me. Because sin and being single is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. You're your only concern. But meeting her definitely started that conversation again.
So last question. What's the legacy you want to leave?
One of integrity and one of reflecting Jesus. I remember hearing a sermon when I was a kid, or a teenager, that it takes one flame to hold back the darkness. Darkness is oppressive, and it kills. But it takes one flame to reflect it back. One little, and it may flicker, right? It may move with the wind, but it stays lit through the Holy Spirit. And you want to be the flame to the world, because every one of us is a child of God, and He has a purpose for us, but He wants us to be with Him, and it's shining and reflecting the image of Jesus to others. Letting them know, I don't care how bad your circumstances are, what's been done to you, what you've done. I've done some pretty bad stuff. I've go through the 10 Commandments, and even if you haven't done it with your heart, or physically you've done it with your heart, then you've broken a commandment, right? I've trying to think of one. I'm sure there's a few I haven't broken, but I've broken about all of them, and He can still bring you back from that.
That's a good way to end it, man.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Hey, Josh, thanks so much for your vulnerability here, man, and opening up. It's, you'd say it all the time. It's just awesome getting to know each other. We always learn something through these things, and every one of these, I feel like I've learned something more about you guys. So with that, man, Nick, take us home.
Yeah, make sure you go to our website, mkdudtalk.com. This is our very last one of these Spotlight series. So if you've missed any of them, you can go to the About section on our website, and they're towards the bottom.
As long as this one gets more views than all the other ones, I don't care.
There's that humility coming out.
There it is, yeah. But it's at the bottom of that. We have them in order of how we did them. A couple of them were still in the old studio, and a couple of the other ones are right here in our brand new studios here in downtown Fairmont. So make sure you visit our website. You can see all of our other podcasts, our guest series, all of our shorts. There's some good stuff in there to make sure that you go back. Make sure you like and subscribe so you're always getting our new stuff as it comes out. There's good little tidbits in there. The shorts are great little wisdom things that you can share. Some of them are funny. Some of them are definitely getting some hits out there. We were talking this morning. There's a lot of silly people out there in the world that's viewing our stuff. So
Lilith.
People.
Lilith is the first woman. Grow up.
And I say that to say this, and we were talking about this morning.
Nonsense.
We need our good hardened men out there. Our followers. We've had some wackos on some of our shorts saying some silly stuff.
Go check out the one on evolution.
Yeah,
you get a lot of.
We need some biblical men to combat.
To stand up. You got a lot of the enemy that's brave. Where's the brave Christian men and women out there fighting for Jesus? So
that's I say that to say that.
Yeah.
So go out there, and we're not saying to combat them, but just throw out the word of God. Combat evil with the truth.
Punch him right in the face.
I don't know if I'd say that.
I'm kidding. That's a joke.
That sounds like something.
I'm not hostile.
It's a joke.
That sounds like something Nick would say. So if you'd like to get a hold of us directly, you can see, I can segue right into it. Our email at mkdudtalk@gmail.com. Again, please visit our website. That was our very last Spotlight series. We're wrapping that series up now.
Yeah.
So each one of those is a great way to delve more into each of our team here, and that is mkdudtalk.com. Make sure to hit all of our social media platforms where you can visit and catch up on all of our previous podcasts and all those things. So for the Yes Man, Jared, for MK, actually here, Andy, today.
The
coach Ryan, who actually is working today, so we can't say that he's absent. He's working today. And our Spotlight series, the very last one, we bow to you, sir. The host Josh, and of course I am O2D2 Nick for Mountaineer Kingdom Dude Talk. Real men, manly talk, not with an S, Andy.
Talks.
Can you be way more extreme? Get up and flip the table.
No, please don't flip the table.